Hello everyone, this is Taryn with Wonderfully Made Handcrafting, and I am back working on this accordion book for Christmas. I really wanted to add a window scene to this page, and so I'm taking some Duralar film. It's similar to acetate, but it's a little bit more durable and you can heat it and everything. That's not the reason I'm using it. I just really like this stuff. And I coated it with a thin coat of matte collage medium. And then I am using this new Tim Holtz icicle crackling paste. And I'm going to make this really cool cracked glass kind of look. Now I do wait for the collage medium to completely dry. And why I have that on there is so that the crackle has something to grab a hold of. It adds some tooth to the page and allows the crackle to actually happen. Now the collage medium does make the page a little foggy, but don't worry because that icicle will change that and make it clear again. And now I just put that to the side and wait for the crackle to actually take place. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to work on other elements of this page. And this is a poinsettia floral that I got from the Layers collection. So it's a glossy, kind of thicker piece. And I decide I want to tone it down a little bit and make it look more antique. So I take that new frosted crystal. Guys, I love this stuff. This is the first time I've used it, and it really adds a nice texture to each element. It's still glossy, but adds some bumps to it, and I don't know, it's just really nice stuff. It's hard to show on camera, and it's hard to explain, so go grab some yourself and start playing with it. On the right hand side of this page, I have this picture of my mom walking her dog. And so I found this little dog holding a sign that says Merry Christmas in the Ephemera pack. And so I thought that would be perfect for this side of the page. And I'm going to move that window over to the right hand side. I was worried that it would kind of get stuck in the corner when I was trying to fold it. And it would kind of put some extra stress with how big that chipboard piece is on the center if I left it over to the middle. So that is why I chose to move it over. But now I'm just looking at different layering elements and how to make this page really full. I found this small pocket card in the Christmas collection and I really like it. It's green and had some handwriting on it, and it brings in the green from the left hand side of the page. I also thought about this wish little card that actually gets nixed out, and I decided to do something else. It was a little too white for this page. It felt like it just didn't feel right. But I do keep all my scraps, like I said before, and this is why, is because you can completely change a page with just a couple scraps. So I'm going to turn that over. I really like the lines on the bottom part of that scrap, and so I'm going to keep that there, and then I'm going to keep on adding a couple pieces of scraps that I've kept. Now I do keep all my scraps in a little baggie for each project, so that is super helpful. I just don't like throwing stuff away when I love the product so much. So since I know I won't be able to distress this piece once it's glued down, I take my distress ink in Vintage Photo and cover up that white torn edge. I also really want to find a label sticker to go on this page, and so I decide on that Winter Wishes one. I thought that would look cute with my mom's picture with her puppy. And then I grab this plaid. This is the kind of tiny little pieces of scrap that I keep because, as you can see here, it will just completely transform this bottom piece and will add a little anchor to that sticker. I almost forgot to distress the edge of this little plaid torn piece, but remembered right before I glued it down. So I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to just start gluing everything down in my cluster. I'm using my Barely Arts precision glue again. This stuff holds super well, and I love the small tip that it has. But I do know that a lot of people use the collage medium with the glue nozzle tip, so that could work as well. I try to keep every scrap possible, so I'm kind of looking at this green card in the background and seeing how much I am really using and how much is going behind that window. So I'm going to place that window on it, kind of get a gist of where it is, and then snip that off so I can use that piece for another page. And now it's time for some glitter. My mom loves sparkly things, and so I thought, what better place to use it than in an accordion book for her and my dad? And so I did pick up this glitter duster from Stampers Anonymous, and I am so glad I did. It does help kind of get that even layer of glitter. I do still make a mess, so you might want to do this outside. But I did use the fine tip of that Barely Arts glue and just kind of used it on the leaves of this holly on the bottom half of this dog, and I'm just gonna spray it, and it covers it so nicely, and you don't use any extra glitter. I mean, there's a little bit on the table, but you just don't have a bunch of chunkage of glitter everywhere. So before I glue this cluster down, I am going to take the edges of my scissors and rough up this a little bit. I just love the texture that it gives, and it makes it look real, not so just plastered down. I do want this dog to be a bigger focal point of the cluster, and so I decided I'm going to prop him up on some foam tape. I use my foam tape from scrapbook.com, and I decided to purchase the wider versions of their foam tape. It's better bang for your buck, and I can cut it down to whatever size I need, so it all works for me. So I will put that all on the back side of the dog and then just stick him down on that cluster before I paste it all down to the page. After this dog is pasted down to this cluster, I realize that I still feel like I'm missing something above that green card. I did have that wish little card kind of posted up there beforehand, but it just didn't seem like it fit well with this page. So I'm looking for something to kind of take over that spot. And so I grabbed these labels at first, and I'm going to kind of try that out. This is what I do. I just try out everything until I find that one thing that really fits to me. So I wasn't really loving the label. I would have had to distress it a lot to take away that white. But I did find this little special delivery tag that I really loved. So I decided to put that down on the page, and I'm also going to add a little string to it, so we'll add another textured element to this page. I end up taking some string from the Salvage Tags ephemera pack I have, and it's the perfect color to match with this page that I'm doing, and I really like the size of it. So I'm going to just tie a knot through it and then loop it through. I feel like this is the perfect piece to complete this side of this junk journal. And so now I'm placing it and looking at how much I want that window to cover up the tag and where I need to place glue down to get the perfect placement. My crackling glass is still sitting to the side and drying. I will give you kind of a sneak peek of what that looks like in a second, but it does take a little bit of time to dry, so make sure you have some other things to work on in the meantime. So here it is. It's still kind of cracking, so I'm going to set that to the side to dry a little bit more, and then I'm going to start working on the left-hand side of this page. Now the left-hand side of this page has a picture of my dad with his 3 brothers and his mother, and I really wanted to make it easier to pull it out of this pocket. So I grab a label from the label ephemera pack, and I am distressing it some, and then I'm going to glue that as a pull tab to the picture. I try not to add too much glue to this because I don't want it to ooze out onto the picture. This glue does dry clear, but I still didn't want those glue marks, so be careful with how much glue you add. I am also going to be adding a brad to this. I thought that it'd add another element to this with some metal on this side of the page, and so I'm going to poke a hole through that label and then just push that brad through. So since this photo is meant to be pulled out of the pocket to be seen, and it's not just glued down, I want to make sure to cover up all the hardware and white space on the back side of this photo. And luckily, a small pocket card is almost exactly the right size for this photo. I had trimmed this down without even thinking. So it was just, one of those things that it matched almost perfectly. So I'm looking at the back sides of these and figuring out I want that red kind of cross hatch. And I'm going to glue that down and trim just the slightest portion around the corners so that it matches perfectly. So now this photo is almost all set to be placed back inside that pocket, but I do want to add a little bit of distressing on the back side. That will help kind of cover up the white space on this edge. It's just a very minimal white space, but that will cover it up so you don't see it at all. This page just needs a little bit more bling in my opinion. So I grabbed these mirrored stars. I really like these. And you get so many in a pack. The only thing that I can say is they are very mirrored, which is something that I love, but I wanted to tone it down just a little bit to match better with this vintage kind of a look. And so I saw someone do it. I am unsure of who I saw. So sorry if I stole your idea. But I did kind of use some icicle crackling on the top of those stars, and it tones it down just a smidge so they're not so mirrored and adds a little bit of crackling to the stars, which is pretty fun. This dries very quickly on the mirrored stars, and so I just leave it for a second, and then I'm going to grab it and place each star. Now here's where I kind of messed up. I put the glue down first, and I shouldn't have done that. I had them all lined up, and then I have to wipe away those little glue portion dots, but it's okay. And I am going to then add a little bit more glue. This one was still a little too close for my liking, but I kind of move it around. You have a couple seconds with this Barely Arts Precision Glue, so you can kind of get that perfect placement before it dries. I did want to add a little bit more layering on the left-hand side of this page, and so I found these 4 postage stamps in the ephemera pack. I do decide to cut 2 of them off because I know I wouldn't have seen them anyhow in my layering, and I just distress the edges of this thing and then post it down. I am going to add just a little bit of glue and then post this Christmas sign on top of it, and then I'll start working on gluing everything down to the page. And that floral piece will kind of cover part of that photo. I will make sure when I add that floral piece though that I only put glue on the bottom portion. That way it doesn't smudge onto the photo at all, and it will be easy to get the photo in and out of the pocket. You can always add more though, so I grabbed this quote Flair button pack, and I find this holly jolly little Santa. I thought it matched perfectly with this page, and I'm looking back to see how much chunk it's going to add and where I need to place it so that it folds correctly. So I'm going to take my collage medium and kind of dump it into the lid and then post it down. I hadn't used collage medium as a glue before, so I wanted to give it a try. Now that that left-hand side of the page is all good and decorated, I'm going to come back to the right-hand side and glue this whole cluster piece down, and then I'm going to work on that crackling glass. So hopefully you can see here, I do have some good crackles, especially in this one area, and so I'm going to place my window down, hold it, and cut around it. Now I did do a poll on Instagram to see which window you guys liked better, and most of you liked the other window. I preferred this window for the coloring of this page, and that other gray window I'm going to use in my grandfather's accordion book with the same photo. So I will be using it. I do want to add even more texture to these windows though. So I grab this snowfall grit paste that dries clear. It kind of makes it look like sleet or slush has dried on the windows in the end. And then I also grab some regular grit paste and add some clear rock candy to that to kind of cover up those edges of the photo that aren't seen. I also use a little bit of distressed crayon to highlight those cracks, and then this page is done. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. It means so much to me. I'll link all the products that I used down below. And if you haven't seen part 1, which was the setup of the accordion book, I will link that video next. I hope you have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.